Welcome to A Canadian Investing in the U.S., a podcast and YouTube channel focused on Canadians buying real estate with host Glen Sutherland.
Welcome to a new episode of A Canadian Investing in the U.S. with Glen Sutherland. This week, my guest is Nathan Turner. Nathan, you want to just start off by giving everybody a bit of a background, maybe some of your story?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Nathan Turner. I live just outside of Calgary. I'm in Cochrane in Alberta. I used to live in Montreal. I actually grew up in Alberta, moved to Montreal for 19 years, and now we're back in Alberta, just outside of Calgary. But yeah, I've been investing in the States since about 2009-ish, 2008, 9, 10, somewhere in there.
Yeah, that's awesome. So in what capacity, like what are you investing in the US? What are you buying? What's your strategy?
So I don't buy property. I buy residential mortgages attached to properties. So instead of buying the house itself, I'm just buying the loan against the property. And that's what I buy. And I love it.
Okay, so anyone who is like listening to this, they're probably going, wait, what? Let's back up a little bit. Let's explain what that is.
Yeah. So, most commonly people go when they're going to buy a house, typically they don't have all the money up front. So you go to a lender, whether that's a bank or somebody private or something like that, and you go get a mortgage against the property. Now, people in the States will identify with this much more than Canadians, but in the States, you'll get your mortgage, you'll be all set up and ready to go. And then in a month or two or three, you get a letter in the mail saying, hey, by the way, we're no longer handling your loan. We sold it off to a different bank, individual, company, whatever.
Right.
So they've sold it. Now this new person is going to be collecting payments. That's me. I'm the new person that has stepped into that role, and then I'm now collecting those payments. Typically, I don't deal with banks directly. I'm usually dealing either with private lenders or hedge funds, just because buying from the bank usually is done in bulk with $100 million, and I don't have quite that much money yet.
Yeah, no, very few of us do.
Yeah.
So, okay, so you buy this mortgage note, so you're basically the bank now. You are
Essentially
the bank. I'm gonna guess there's probably the servicing company is between you and the actual investor, so they don't actually like communicate. They don't actually like send you payments, nothing like that, right? Nice and
yeah, and it can be done different ways. So you mentioned servicing companies. I highly, highly, highly recommend using a servicing company if you're doing this kind of thing. Let's say you've got a house and you've sold it and you've created a note or a mortgage, you can service that yourself, meaning you can collect the payments and deal with the borrower and all. You can do all that on your own. I highly recommend using a third party to do that, and that's called a servicer. They're the ones who collect the payments. They're the ones who issue the tax statements at the end of the year. They can be the full service people. They can have all the conversations, so you don't ever have to talk if that's what you want to do. I like to talk to the borrowers if and when there's an issue, but it can range all over.
Because I've done some notes like this too, but I've done it in a different capacity altogether, right? I was more creating the notes. And I like having the servicing company there as well, just so that if you're, I don't know, they're almost like a property manager where they'll collect taxes, the insurance, they'll pay stuff, they'll notify you if someone doesn't do what they're supposed to do. So you're like,
right.
You're not like checking, the county records to see if they paid their taxes. You're not.
Yeah.
It's just all put together in one. Like you said, tax statements at the end. Just summarize the whole thing up. Let's just make this.
And like I say, you can do that on your own, but the servicer's really not an expensive service. If you've done it right, in fact, if you've created a note, you can actually have the borrower, the person making the payments, you can have them pay for the servicing. And like I say, it's an inexpensive service. Typically, it's somewhere between $30 or $40 a month, so it's not a major expense. And ideally, though, like I say, you pass that on to the borrower and you have them pay that for you.
Yeah. So okay. So for people that are, let's go back to now that we've covered that part.
Yeah.
People are getting you're taking over the mortgage. So if you're being the investor as the mortgage, first of all, let's do the why. Why do you want to do that rather than the property? Let's just go into some of the reasons you like that.
Oh, it's so much cleaner and easier, really. I've done the fix and flip thing. I actually really like that. I still do some of that today. I've done the landlord thing. that I was much less interested in. I was actually, that's a step down in my opinion from the fix and flip. Just because it's a ton more work, and the returns are great. Don't get me wrong. Like I say, I've done that as well, but it's essentially when you're buying the note. Think of it this way: as the bank, does the like if you need a new roof, do you call your bank and say, "Hey, can you come fix my roof?" Of course not. That's not what the bank does.
No.
So that's my position is instead of being the landlord where it's like, "Oh, this is broken. We've got this issue with the house, that issue with the house." None of that's my problem. So that's the homeowner. They're the ones who actually own the home. They're the ones making the payments. They're the ones that have to do all the upkeep, all the maintenance, all that stuff. So just it's the same or better returns as a rental without the responsibility of having to take care of the home. So that's really for me, that's what it boils down to.
Okay. This just popped in my head too, because I do lots of both sides a little bit. I've created some notes, and I've also, get loans, right, from like
Mhm.
mortgages and DSCR lenders and everything else under the sun. Um, Maybe we go through that a little bit. Like, so whenever I, go set up a loan, right? So I go to the bank and, I get a mortgage on a property. They have
Yeah.
all the loan setup fees, and then charging me an interest rate. Is that the interest rate that you would get, or are you getting a discount or a higher or a lower? Are you looking to invest in the US? Are you looking for a coach rather than a coaching program? Well, you're in luck, because that's where my coaching program is completely different. It's not about just teaching you all the material. It's about like having a community of people all doing the same thing. It's about doing one-on-one calls with me to strategize, to plan, to look over deal analysis, to check markets with you. Just honestly, just to solve mistakes before they happen. If that's interest to you, you want to learn about the coaching program, or you just want to do a one-on-one call with me just for like 10 minutes, just to answer a couple questions, just to get to know me, go to my website, glensutherland.com, or at canadianinvestingintheusa.com, and you can book a call right at the top. And I'd love to get on the phone with you and just even get to know everyone.
For sure. And then this is where it gets interesting because let's say in the States right now, an interest rate, you're looking somewhere between 6.5%, 7%. So let's just use 7% for an easy number.
Sure.
That's what the bank is issuing. If you're doing a private sale, there's a reason you're not going to the bank. And so generally speaking, your as a private sale, your rate is going to be higher than whatever the bank is offering. In my opinion, it should be because you're offering a specialty product. So if the bank is saying 7, you're offering minimum 8. I would say even 9, or depending on the state and what you can do, maybe 10. I know some lenders in Texas that are doing like 11 and a quarter. So that's not out of the realm of possibility. You can certainly do that. That's a number that you can use.
Yep.
So if let's say somebody, you've created a note, you've wrote it at a 9% interest rate for the borrower, and then you sell the note to me. For the borrower, nothing changes. All the terms stay the same, the rate, the time, the payment, all those things, none of that changes. The contract is still the contract. I bought the rights to that contract. The interesting part is I bought it at a discount. So if for just easy numbers, let's say the balance on the loan is $100,000, property values, call it 150. I would come in and say, and the rate is around like 9%. I would come in and say, okay, I run a investment fund, and so I need to pay my investors, of course, and then I need to make some money as well. So I buy my loans at a minimum 12% yield. So meaning if it's at a 9% at $100,000 balance, all those things, I'm probably going to pay somewhere around $75,000, $80,000 for the right to receive $100,000 over the life of the loan. So for the next 25 years at, whatever it is, $600 a month, whatever those numbers are, that's now my right to receive that. But because I bought it at a discount, that's where I make my money. That's how I get that boost.
Okay, and I think it's leading to some of my next questions answered right there. But so you're buying this at a discount. If
Mhm.
Are these notes in distress then? Like they're behind or something? Because I'm just thinking, like, say you go to, whatever, Bob, the hard money lender, and you get a loan on your mortgage and he underwrites a loan. Like, it seems like a bad practice from their business just to, I'm going to underwrite this at, whatever those numbers were and resell the note at a discount. Like how everybody has to make money through there. So is there a distress to the note? Is that the reason that there's a discount?
Sometimes. So, and then back up a little bit. So when I first got started, it was like 2008, 9, 10. That's all there was distress notes like that. There were so many of those, thousands upon thousands of them. So that's how I got started. So in that case, when I first got started, everything was distressed and discounts were massive. So on that same scenario, I'd be paying like 30,000. Like it was ridiculous, the kind of pricing you can get back in the day. I've actually kind of shifted gears. Today I'm buying only performing. So people are making payments. There's actually no issue with the mortgage or the payments itself. But I'm still buying at a discount. So like you say, then why would somebody do that? All kinds of reasons. So it can range anything from they would rather just have a chunk of cash today. That's a big one because they've got a different investment they want to get into. They've got a kid going through college and they want to pay for it, who knows, whatever. They would rather have that chunk of cash today and it's worth it to them to sell it at a discount. So that's one kind of camp. And there's all kinds of reasons why they would do that. The other camp is people that do this as a business where they will go and acquire that property for, 60 or 70. They'll resell it at 120, get a $20,000 down payment, balance is now 100, and then they're going to sell it to me for 80. They're fine. They've collected $20,000 up front plus my 80. So they're laughing. They've made a really nice profit off that. Now they've got that chunk of cash. They can go back out and do it again. And then they just kind of roll it over and keep moving. Those are the people I mostly deal with. There's the people that are doing it as a business. And that's kind of my preference is to deal with those guys because it's repeat and we can do more and more business together. So it's kind of those two camps are the most common. And then there's, the odd thing here and there in between, but that's generally what it boils down to.
Yeah. In my head, I'm just thinking like, if you bought this at a discount, say let's just use me and you as examples. So say I got a mortgage from like a bank and then whatever else, and I'm still paying, performing, and you buy the note at the discount. Is there the opportunity for me as like the investor in the property to just like go and reach out to you and say, hey, can I just buy this note at a discount off of you? So say, because, say we'll make up some random numbers. I bought it, it's $100,000 note from my perspective. And then you bought it for, I don't know, $70,000. And like, could I just like come in and I'm like, I'll give you $80,000 and we call this quits right now?
You could. So here's the other interesting piece is my purchase price is not recorded anywhere. So nobody actually knows how much I paid for that. So whatever the discount I got, that's the discount that I got.
Is it? Why is it private? Because most stuff in the US isn't private. Like whenever I go buy a house, it's recorded. You can see what it is. You can go see it on public records.
So the thing that is recorded, so you've got your mortgage is recorded. The note itself is not. So all the terms of the note itself, that part, it's in two parts. So there's a note and the mortgage. The mortgage is recorded. That's what's on the county records. Yes. The note is not. When I buy something, I get two documents. It's called an assignment and an allonge. So the assignment just says I now have the right to collect on whatever payments were attached to this agreement, both the note and the mortgage. The assignment is recorded in the county records. But again, that assignment doesn't stipulate the purchase price that I paid for it. It just says Glenn is now assigning his rights over to Nathan. That's it. And it's like a 1-2 page document and that's all. So it'll outline, detailing the original mortgage, saying the mortgage that was recorded on this date and book and page number, blah, 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 is now being assigned over to Nathan. So Nathan now has the right to receive that, but it doesn't say how much I paid for it. Then the other document is called an allonge. And that's basically like, it's very similar to the assignment in terms of just giving away that authority to collect. But it's more like signing the back of, like it's your endorsement. It's signing the back of the check. In fact, for a long time, and I don't hardly see it ever anymore, but for a long time, it was literally just, it was a rubber stamp that they would stamp on the back of that assignment, just saying pay to the order of, and that was it. And then signed by whoever sold the note. Most of the time now it's a separate document. But it's one of those documents you need if you go to court in case of a foreclosure. Otherwise, it's not recorded. It's just kind of there. It just kind of floats around. But nowhere in that whole transaction does it show how much I paid for it. So that's kind of the nuts and bolts of it.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And like you just mentioned foreclosure. So
Mhm.
so say somebody stops making their payments. I'm guessing that you have to wait a certain period of time before you can initiate that process.
Mhm.
And then I'm just doing like, random made up math, but the people bought the property at a certain price. They put down their down payment and then they created a note. So say it was a $135,000 house, they got $100,000 mortgage on the property, and then you bought the note for less than that.
Mhm.
If the people, decided to default or not stop paying, you could foreclose and take the property, correct? Have you been thinking about investing in the US, but wondering if these numbers actually pencil out? So I created a deal analyzer exactly for that reason. So if you're interested in it, completely free, go to canadianinvestingintheusa.com/deal.
Yeah, that's kind of my ultimate recourse
Yeah.
if I need to. Before I get to that, though, to tell you the truth, I would actually talk to the homeowners, the borrowers, and say, okay, so we've obviously got a problem here. So how are we going to fix it? And like, how can we come together and figure out what we can do? So first of all, I've got a lot of flexibility because I'm not a bank. Second of all, I've got a lot of flexibility because I bought it at a discount. So I've got a lot more room to maneuver. And if they say, that $800 payment, it's just not feasible anymore. I lost my job. I've got this other job, but it doesn't pay quite as well. Whatever the case might be. Sometimes they'll say, you know what? Yes, I can pay. I've actually had it where they say, you know what? Let's bump it up. Can we make it, $100 more than what we're paying before? Absolutely, we can do that. And then we adjust those payments. That's your modification of that mortgage. And that is also recorded at the county. So then these are now the new terms of the mortgage for everyone to see going forward. This is how it works. So that's the first line of defense. We'll work on that. Almost always we can work something out.
Yeah. Okay.
When I foreclose, almost always, like 95% of the time, it's because the house is now vacant. And so they either passed away or they abandoned the property. That's it. So almost always I'm foreclosing on an empty house, not on a person, which feels good.
Okay. And then if you're not in that business, is your business to just give it to a wholesaler to get rid of it, or do you try to list on the MLS? Or I guess it's probably a case to case basis, or do you like go in, renovate it, and try and put it back up?
Yeah, most of the time I don't want to do any kind of renovation. Again, I'm in Canada and everything I do is in the US. So doing it at a distance is not ideal. It's not the easiest thing to
I
do.
can teach you how to do it. I do it all the time.
I have done it in the past, but
Yeah.
again, because I bought it at a discount, I'm happy just to go ahead and speed, is a factor. So if I can wholesale it out to somebody that is going to be a local person to do that, great. I'm happy to pass that savings along to them and everyone's happy. Or I resell if it's in good condition and the house is habitable and I don't really have to do anything to it, other than maybe some light rehab or paint or whatever. In those cases, I'd look at that and say, okay, so let's put it back up in the market with seller finance terms and say, I will sell this house to you and create a new note and off we go. And then now I collect a down payment and now I've got this new borrower in there and rough and I've got that monthly income again.
That's awesome. That's a great idea. Yeah, because you're in
Yeah.
the note business anyway. And honestly, seller financing, it works. Like whenever
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm doing a contract for deed or a land contract or whatever,
Yeah.
or lease option, they line up for that, or they can, depending where it is, and if it's what people want, they line up for that stuff. Before you buy these, okay, I wrote this note down a little earlier, but before you're buying these, I think this is my last question I got anyway.
Sure.
Unless you got more stuff to talk about, I'm
good to go. Sure.
But like due diligence before you buy
Yeah.
these things, right? What do you what do they give you? What things do you have to do? I'm assuming they're going to send you the appraisal. What you get all the lender docs? I'm guessing that whole package.
Yeah. I get the whole package, which is crazy. Like the very first time I started doing that, and then I got sent the package and I don't typically see this today, but in those early days, I got literally everything, like the whole application form, like, a copy of the driver's license, like all this information. I'm like, am I okay to look at this? Like, That
But
felt
at the same
weird.
time, if you need to foreclose, you're going to need that information probably.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, like I'll as part of the loan documentation, I get their social security number, I get their birth date, their full name, all of those kinds of information so that in case of I've got that uh so I can roll ahead with a foreclosure if we need to. And like I say, most of the time I don't need to, but it's there if I need it. Um then I've got a copy of the due diligence part, I'm going to look at an electronic copies. So I get an electronic copy of the mortgage, the note, um, any other assignments. If it had been created by somebody else in the past and it had been assigned once or twice or three times, then I'll get a copy of all of those to look at. I'll get a copy of the servicing notes so I can see like if there's been a lot of communication between the borrower and the servicer. I can read through those notes and see what kind of conversations they've had, like all of it. I get all of that kind of stuff. So that's the note side of it. Of course, I am looking at the property as well because I want to make sure that there's enough equity there in case of, and kind of planning for that worst case scenario where I end up having to take it back. So I'm looking at. I'll usually send out a local realtor to go and look at the property. I can do whatever I can do online. But then I have somebody local go out and look at it and just make sure that what I'm seeing on Zillow and Redfin actually makes sense with the local person who's actually on the ground and knows the market.
Yeah.
Because that varies, and whatever I see online might be different. I remember once where they go by the house and like it was the front door. I had lots of experience. But one time the front door was just wide open and there was just like nobody there. And so there was just obviously that's a different situation
Yeah.
versus
Yeah.
somebody who's there and making payments. I've had it where they went by and there's no more house. And I can't see that on Google because they didn't update the picture yet. And there's all kinds of situations. So
Yeah.
always make sure that I send somebody out there and make sure it is what we think it is. And then the other major thing that I do is title. So I'll pull a title report, just a current owner search, just to see, and I go back to owners, just to see what's been the history on title, and is there anything else encumbering the property? Like, is there a second or a third lien back there? Are there municipal liens? Is there IRS liens? I mean, again, I've stories upon stories, but I remember once I opened one up and the creditor name was United States of America. I'm like, what on earth is that? And it ended up being Department of Justice. And I'm like,
Whoa.
I don't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, you're
So
gonna
just
be in
like
a sticky
weird
position.
stuff, but I want to know.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Oh, that's
Yeah.
interesting. And like when you see like a house like in that situation you talked about where you walked up and the door was vacant and it was open, is that just like, hey, know what, I'm not going to do this, or you're like, hey, this, like, you're not in the business of owning houses, so it's probably just a pass on you. But like for some people, like that could be like, hey, this is an opportunity to buy a discounted note and then foreclose and take
Mhm.
like could be the next flip.
Yeah, if it's anything from confirming what I already thought I knew about the property, all the way to maybe it's a bargaining chip. Maybe, somebody gets out there and they lay eyes on the property and they're like, you know what? Uh, Online, it looks like the house is worth 100. When we go by and actually look at it, realistically, it's probably more like 80. So how much does that cut into the equity portion that's already built in? And then I can go back to the seller and say, like, look, the house is actually worth less than we thought it was. That affects my position. So therefore, here's my new offer on this property, on this loan, because if I need to take that back, we both know that that's going to be an issue. So maybe it's a bargaining chip, or maybe it's the opposite, and they go by the house and man, that place is worth 150, and I know that it's vacant because we had the guy go by and real life scenario, this happened when it's worth actually more than we thought it was, and it's vacant, it's not actually making payments. So now same thing, I go look, that's actually vacant, so I am going to have to foreclose on this. So here's my new offer, but I'm not going to tell them my new number of what the value is. I'm going to use their number of what the value is and get a sweet deal and
Sounds
use
good.
it for what I can. But anyway, that all kinds of fun stuff. And we're doing this for long enough. We got days and days of stories. But anyway,
Oh, I bet. I think we also do another podcast and just stories. That'd be good.
yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah. What is the risk to this? Like, where's the, is it that you get a property and then I think, no, just in my head, I think it sounds like the risk is just not doing your due diligence off the start and getting yourself into a spot where the numbers don't make any sense.
Yeah, yeah. The risk is the house, ironically enough. And so we'll, sometimes, and especially when we were doing all the non-performing, it was not uncommon that we'd take back property because it was vacant or,
Yeah.
like I say, for whatever reason, it was vacant. So we get back the property, and then before we buy the note, we can't actually get inside because I'm not buying the house. I'm buying the loan attached to the house. So I don't have the right to enter the property before I buy it. So that happened, where we take back the property and get inside, and it's just like full of mold. And we're like, oh man, shoot, that's not worth what we thought it was. And again, we bought it at a discount. So almost every case, have we lost money? Yeah, we have, of course. But in almost every case, we've still bought it at enough of a discount that even if it is in rough shape, we're still okay. So that's the trick.
Person who who actually is on that note, like person who gave the social security number and all the stuff, who actually is the homeowner, would you not have any recourse to go after them? Like, I'm just thinking, if I'm doing a note, I've always I feel like the lender has the ability to go after other assets, depending how I'm owning it, right?
Yeah.
Situation if they own stuff.
Yeah, you could. The a couple of tricks with that is I go ahead and get a judgment against the person and then try to collect, but try to collect on a person you can't find, and where are they now, and are they working a job, or are they doing? We had a guy that was a tow truck driver, and so 90% of his business is under the table. Like, there's no way. So the vast majority of the time, it's not worth it to even try. We just try to, the property is what it is, and then we'll just get that and move on.
Yeah, that makes sense. Awesome. Anything else I should have asked you?
I think that's good.
All right. Anyway, yeah, no, sometimes
Yeah.
I'm like, sometimes people have something in their mind. So, Nathan, people are like, hey, I love this. How do I learn more? How do I get in contact with Nathan? How do I reach out?
Yeah, best thing to do is go to the website. It's earnestinvesting.com. That's EARNEST. So earnestinvesting.com. And there's a little more information about notes on there and how they work and why they work. Information about my fund. If there's people that are like, sounds cool, here's some money. There's also a link there. I also run an annual conference. We actually just wrapped it up about a month ago. And it's just all about notes. The next one will be next year. So if you're interested in that, there's a link to that website as well, at Diversified Mortgage Expo. You can learn all about that. And again, it's no pitching. It's just come and learn and network with people.
Where's it located? Where do you do the conference?
We do it in Nashville.
Okay.
And it's a ton of fun. We'll do it. The next one will be the first weekend in May in 2026. But we're already making plans for that. So looking forward to it.
Awesome. Well, Nathan, that was a lot of fun, and you answered all my questions and got my brain even thinking about all kinds of other different ways to do this. But
yeah,
love it. I love these ones. I love ones where I get all gets my mind thinking. It's not I need all that stuff. I like to learn a little bit. I love it. Anyway, thank you so much.
Pleasure. You bet.
That was a nice video. Bye.